What are some not fun facts? Newborn harp seals have 10 days before they are abandoned by their mother. They need to learn how to swim before the ice melts so that they won't drown. If you're attacked by a bear, it won't necessarily try to kill you like other predators would. It just starts eating. If you're going to be murdered, chances are very good you've already met your killer. Up until the 1980s, babies weren't put on painkillers during surgery. It was believed they didn't feel pain. Cysticercosis is when a tapeworm manages to lodge itself inside your brain, causing big cysts to form in your head, causing headaches and seizures. There is a genetic disorder that causes your body to replace your muscle tissue with bone over time. Edit, for those who are wondering. It's called fibrodysplasia ossificans progressiva, FOP. And currently there is no cure for it. Also, it's a genetic disorder, not a disease. Me apologies for those I confused with it. Demodex mites live in the pores of your skin and eat your dead skin cells and oils. They also climb out at night and have a gangbang on your face. Worst part, you're not even invited. There is a whale that has been searching for a mate for the last 5 years. It has been wholly unsuccessful because its voice is a different frequency than other whales. So much so that whales run from it. The Great Molasses Flood, sometimes referred to locally as the Boston Massacre, occurred on the 15th of January, 1919, in the North End neighborhood of Boston, Massachusetts. 21 people drowned in a wave of hot molasses. There are most likely people that are stranded at sea or in the desert right now that will probably never be found. The optimal height to hang someone is between 3 and 5 meters. The point of hanging isn't to suffocate the victim. It's to break their neck. Any less than the rope will strangle them to death, and any more they have a chance of being decapitated. That scene at the end of Sherlock Holmes, spoiler, where Lord Blackwood falls off London Bridge and gets hanged by a chain, would actually have ripped his head clean off. Edit, spelling. Connor Axanthasamphone, who had escaped Jeffrey Dahmer, was killed shortly after he was returned to Jeffrey Dahmer's care by police. Banana republics were coined in the book Cabbages and Kings, about small countries based around single exports that were taken advantage of by large corporations. That company taking advantage of them for the book rebranded and is now called Chiquita. From an older comment of mine that fits this question, the Challenger astronauts didn't die when the shuttle exploded. The stack actually just broke apart under aerodynamic stress, and the explosion you thought you saw was just the expanding cloud of hydrogen from the external tank burning. The forces involved in the breakup were very survivable. The crew cabin was left intact after it separated from the rest of the orbiter and may not have depressurized. There's evidence to suggest some or all of them were conscious at least part of the way down, if not the entire time. And photography of the disaster shows the cabin falling without spinning in a nose down attitude, meaning no excessive forces to knock them out. The impact with the ocean was what actually killed them. It took 2 minutes and 45 seconds from breakup to impact. It's possible that some or all of them were conscious and aware the whole time. Died on impact is not necessarily a literal term. It can take quite a while to die from blunt force trauma. Rabbits eat their babies if stressed enough. Male octopodes have multiple detachable penises. During mating, they simply rip one off and hand it to the female, who then swims away and, quite literally, fricks herself. In Australia, there is a plant called the Gympie Gympie, otherwise known as the suicide plant. When touched, it delivers multiple stings with a long-lasting neurotoxin that is so painful that people would rather kill themselves than live through a few days of excruciating pain, and then a further several years of lesser pain, or full reoccurrence in the correct conditions. If the tiny hairs that deliver the stings are not removed, or are buried, the pain will continue for years. The pain, which has been described as feeling like being doused in hot acid and being electrocuted simultaneously, is so bad the people have been driven mad by it. Horses who have been stung by this plant have literally thrown themselves off cliffs. An ex-serviceman named Cyril Bromley is known to have fallen into one of the plants during WWII. Driven mad by it, he had to be strapped to a bed to prevent himself from committing suicide. Another rather unfortunate officer is known to have shot himself in the head after using one of the plant's leaves as toilet paper. Rather than live with the pain in his rear end, he chose to end his life. Over 300 people are believed to have jumped from the World Trade Center on 9/11. One of the falling bodies killed a fireman at the scene. On top of that, there are still over 1,000 victims whose remains have not been found. A crocodile's stomach can melt down bones due to its powerful gastric juice. Goats apparently have the most human-like vaginas of all animals. People diagnosed with autism, high or low functioning, are 10 times more likely to try to commit suicide than the average neurotypical person. The parilla was one of the most barbaric forms of torture ever devised, using electric shocks while the victim was secured to a metal frame to cause unimaginable pain. Addiction cost Americans roughly $740 billion, estimated. Can't put a value on loved ones lost. But yay, not so fun fact. A single tiger killed 434 people in India. The girl that voiced Ducky in Land Before Time, Judith Barsi, was dead by the time Land Before Time came out. She had been murdered a few months earlier by her father in a double murder-suicide. Her tombstone says yup edit, corrected the spelling on the tombstone. I've already heard her line as yup, so that's how it sticks in my brain. If you show symptoms of rabies, your chances of dying are nearly 100%. America's first baseball star, Jim Creighton, died at 21 from a rupture he got from hitting a home run. Male sea otters have forced and violent hanky-panky with not only female otters and some pups, but other marine life as well. This often ends in death. Edit, I noticed a lot of questions of whose death occurred during these sexual encounters. The victim is usually the one who dies, as male otters are known to bite and drown their victim as well as having forceful sex. The other marine life usually involved baby seals and other young pups of other species. I also saw that people mentioned that they will take part in necrophilia as well. On another note, I did not expect this blow up so much. So thank you for taking the time to reply or upvote. The more you know. Your lips are made of the same kind of skin your ass is made of. Almost all autoimmune diseases include ongoing pain as one of their symptoms. Most people with one autoimmune disease have several more. More women than men get certain autoimmune diseases, but men get them too. It takes an average of 7 years to get a valid diagnosis. In the meantime, the patient may be suffering on and on, feeling hopeless. Patients are often told that it's all in their heads. Dolphins rip the heads off fish and use the bodies to masturbate. There are worms that can live in almost every part of the body, even your eyes or brain, and they eat you. Insect populations have decreased by 80% since the 1980s. You are more likely to be killed by a cow than you are a shark. The suicide rate among youth between the ages of 12 to 25 has dramatically increased over the past 10 years. Chickens can't walk on ice. Poor chickens. Whiskey distiller Jack Daniel couldn't remember his safe combination and kicked the safe in frustration. Got an infection in his toe that killed him. Whales and dolphins die by not having enough energy to surface for air, so they slowly sink into the depths of the ocean and suffocate. Edit, as a part Welshman. All these comments about whales made me laugh a lot. Electronic waste is still a problem that's hard to deal with. If a person swallows a single rosary pea, they will be dead within 3 days. A single rosary pea has enough abrin to shut down the human respiratory system. Edit, abrin. The toxin within a rosary pea has a median toxic dose of 0. 7 micrograms per kilogram of body mass when given to mice intravenously, approximately 31. 4 times more toxic than ricin. Being 22 micrograms per kilogram. The median toxic dose for humans ranges from 10 to 1000 micrograms per kilogram when ingested and is 3 micrograms per kilogram when inhaled. Edit 2. In case the FBI comes knocking after this. I only know this cause this is one of the ways I kill off characters in my stories. More people get conquered by MT Everest than the people that conquered MT Everest. Your brain stops growing. Your prostate does not. If you can smell something, this means that tiny particles of the substance you smell made their way into your nose. Smelling is chemical detection. You cannot do that from afar. This is true for stuff like delicious food as well as poo and whatever. Brain activity has been recorded for up to 10 minutes after death. What is that person experiencing during those last minutes of life? One day, there will be no proof that the human race existed at all. Even sooner than that, you'll have been completely forgotten. Edit. I mean, this is still technically true any way you look at it. Because if the death of the universe and everything in it at some point. There are more prisons in the United States than there are colleges. And prisons have inmate quotas to meet. Hitler was nominated for the Nobel Peace Prize. Your bones are wet. The average human asshole can stretch to about 8 inches and a raccoon can fit in 2 holes around 4 inches in diameter. This means a raccoon can crawl into your ass. Hey you. Thanks for watching Reddit Stories. If you enjoyed the video, consider hitting like and subscribing. Your support means a lot. We also have a Discord community where we will be running giveaways and fun surprises throughout the year. Come along and meet some new friends. You look great today.